Our special guest today is an ex-water polo player. He's been the South African captain for 10 years. Welcome to Duncan Woods.
Thanks, Tini. Thanks, Neil.
Interesting career that you had. You played from the age of 19 for South Africa. You were 10 years a South African captain from the age of 21. You were involved in 4 world champs. You played in 2 Commonwealth Games. There's probably no one that's got more water polo experience than you had in your career.
Thanks, Tini. Yeah, I guess I fell into water polo because I've got an older brother who played the sport, and so it was kind of the natural progression was to join him there. And it's been a wonderful part of my life, I must say. Water polo, being amateur in South Africa, was an additional challenge in that you had to make sure that you could look after the other aspects of your life. So that was a balancing act right from the start. But it was great, wonderful learnings from it, great people. Someone said to me in the beginning of my career, "You won't remember the scores, you'll remember the people and the experiences," and that's really something that's been really true for me. At some point in your career, no matter what sport you play, there's going to be a time when you're going to actually start looking internally and stop pointing the finger at outside factors. And I remember it was a pivotal time for me. I was hoping to make the South African under-16 team, which was the first time I'd had a crack at that level, and it was bitterly disappointing to not be included in that team. And I remember clearly going back home and just kind of lying on my bed and processing what that meant to me, etc. And I think that was a turning point, and I think it was from then on that I kind of made a conscious commitment to actually being much more structured in how I approach things, take my training a lot more seriously, needed to be quite honest about my strengths and my weaknesses. So I think, if you can get onto that quickly, and if you can make it a valuable kind of thinking space for yourself, I think that's really important. There were so many learnings being a young captain, which at the time were hard to process. I think I made many mistakes. I think I was wrestling with myself a lot of the time, in my wrestling with my own thoughts. But I think that for the later years, that was important. It's important to lay that platform. I think one of the ways you can justify to yourself and to others is by really putting in the work and being a master at your craft and really owning your position or your skill set. So I think that's a great way to frame it, and it quietens your own self-talk. If you can really be, my goal at that stage was, I have to be the fittest. I have to make sure that there's no fingers can be pointed at me technically. So that was my driver on a personal level to kind of have that base of credibility, and then the leadership stuff was then over and above that. Yeah, it was interesting, South Africa and Eastern Europe, not always the most immediate connection, but a lot of the coaches came down here. They saw probably a country full of raw and unpolished but good athletes that they could coach. But I think, as soon as you understood what the kind of rules were, the team rules were, if you weren't prepared to go with them, then you knew where the door was. Vlada did a wonderful job of making that clear. There was very little politics. There was very little thing. If you were prepared to do the work, there's a space for you in the squad. Maybe not in a team, but there's always a space for you in the squad. His 3 words were discipline, responsibility, and understanding. And if you got your head around those 3, then you'd be fine with him. And the rest is up to you. In an amateur sport, if you're not self-driven, it's pretty tough, because you don't have that support that the tier 1 guys do have. Where things are set out for them, daily schedules and that kind of thing. For the most part, you're on your own. You've got a milestone coming up in a month's time. You expect it to be at a place, and when you arrive, let's see where you are. But I think having that full responsibility on you as an individual is a burden, but it's also empowering, because whatever you want to see, it's your opportunity to make it. As a leader, you need to be consistent. You need your people to know if they're going to back you and if they're going to follow you, that they need to know that you back them and that you can be consistent. The second thing would probably be just around that discipline, leading from the front. I think if you're prepared to do the hard work, then others will see that, and it'll come through, and then they'll decide whether they're going to join you or not. If you're not prepared to do the hard work, and if you're not prepared to show that you've got skin in the game, I think it becomes a little bit more difficult.